And for our final rule tonight, it's time for another edition of one of our favorite departments here on Real Time, explaining jokes to idiots. Where, as a public service, I break down jokes for the humor impaired. Not that I have anyone particular in mind.
So I've been lumped in with a lot of Snyder people as a part of the Snyder cult. And one of the people really propounding this is Andy Signore, who was notorious for opposing the Snyder Cut for a very long time. And when the Snyder Cut happened, he immediately labeled everyone part of the Snyder cult, and we need to reject. And I could go on about his many, many flaws and problems. He's been ruthlessly exposed on many occasions. But I'm actually generous, unlike most. And when somebody does actually have a reasonable response, I say it's reasonable. So we're going to hear him responding to the Will Smith situation and how Jim Carrey is framing what happened.
Thought, Jim, that it escalated to that. You know what I mean? That it escalated to that level.
It didn't escalate. It came out of nowhere because Will has something going on inside him that's frustrated, and I wish him the best. I really do. I don't, you know, I don't have anything against Will Smith. He's done great things. But that was not a good moment. It cast a pall over everybody's shining moment last night. You know?
Well, despite what Andy thinks, not all Snyder people are crazy. So Andy is unreliable in many ways. But I do agree. I think Jim is right.
I mean, bravo.
Jenna, do you agree?
What's interesting in there is, like, as we watch it, like, Gayle King almost, it doesn't suit the narrative that Gayle was sort of ready for. Gayle was sort of there, ready to defend and stuff, and chiming in and didn't know what to say. She's done some good work. I'm not here to completely bash her. Her R. Kelly interview was dynamite. But man, Jim Carrey Carrey's been through a lot. A lot of people have accused him of things, whatever, and he's gone through a lot of just real big drama with his in his past. You can just tell the man has put a lot of work in and has been working on himself and trying to be a better person. That's the vibe I get through all the stuff I see lately in Jim Carrey. Man, I adore Jim Carrey. I worshipped him when I grew up. Ace Ventura, Dumb and Dumber, The Mask. This man was as big as it got. And then he got to some dramatic roles with Truman Show, Man on the Moon. I was like just blown away by his range from just the extreme comedy to then the dramatics, even the majestic. He did such wonderful work. So I've been a fan for a long time. You know, he's had it up and downs in his career, his movies and so on. But his words here are just so wise, and he's right. Why are we giving Will Smith such a pass? And why is Hollywood allowing it? Will Smith went on television and committed a crime. You can say whatever you want, but it's not allowed to do.
And I think Andy's right to agree with Jim that Will stepped over the line. I mean, he laughed at the joke. He did laugh. It's there on the tape. So him suddenly being all upset is ridiculous. And it wasn't that much of a joke. It was very small. Granted, yes, Jada is sick. That's no laughing matter, but it was a small joke. He clearly was going to move on, but Will then turned it into a very, very big brouhaha. And it's not just about them, but by doing so, it really took attention off a lot of other people who earned the award. It took a long time to get to the Academy and so on and so forth. So I think Jim is being pretty reasonable in that. He's not just sticking up for comedians, but it was very, very problematic. And Will apparently has resigned in response. So what this all means, don't know. But I think Jim spoke out clearly, very rationally and decent. And when Andy is on the right side of things, even if it's his side, well, it is what it is. And I think he did a good job of summarizing what happened with the Will Smith situation. Now, when it comes to the Snyder and other things, yeah, he's very partisan. He and Jody have done some crazy stuff and have just made up stuff to try to defame the Snyder fandom. But yes, some of the Snyder fandom has gone too far. Not as much as I think people believe, but yeah, it has a lot of flaws. I don't associate with those people. I think on average, the Snyder people are mostly good people, but yeah, some flaws, some bad people. And when they call out those people, I think that's fine. But I think Andy and Jody are making up this weird industry to sort of find anything on their opponents, and I don't think that's healthy. But again, occasionally Jody and Andy say some pretty reasonable things. Not very good content, but again, they do actually know their stuff in certain places. Jody especially is good on comics, and he actually did find some actually disturbing things on the Snyder side, and I'll get to that. These are very flawed individuals, but occasionally they can get things right. And it's good to know, at least with this one, Andy is not being his usual silly self, but took the issue seriously. And I think the quote was pretty appropriate, and I think his response was appropriate. And there we are with the reaction to Will Smith and the Oscar controversy.
If you want to yell from the audience and disapprove or show a disapproval or say something on Twitter or whatever, you do not have the right to walk up on stage and smack somebody in the face because they said words.